This is the nerd history of Swamp Thing in 3 minutes. Swamp Thing first appeared in 1971, created by Wein and Bernie Wrightson. The setup was gloriously simple. Scientist Alec Holland creates a biorestorative formula, criminals blow up his lab, he stumbles into the swamp on fire, and comes out a giant moss-covered monster. Classic comics, very normal, happens all the time. At first, Swamp Thing was basically a tragic horror hero. He wandered through creepy bayous, fought monsters, and carried all the sadness of a man who had lost his old life and gained several hundred pounds of wet leaves. But then, in the 1980s, Alan Moore got hold of the character and changed everything. Moore's big twist was that Swamp Thing wasn't actually Alec Holland transformed. Alec Holland died in that explosion. Swamp Thing was a plant elemental created by the swamp itself, a being that absorbed Alec's memories and thought it was Alec, which is either brilliant horror or the worst identity theft case in comic book history. That reinvention turned Swamp Thing into something much bigger. He became the avatar of the Green, the elemental force connecting all plant life on Earth. From that point on, he wasn't just a swamp monster, he was basically Earth's supernatural plant guardian, with the power to control vegetation, regenerate from almost anything, and grow a new body anywhere there were plants. So yes, if there's a fern nearby, he's got options. As the mythology grew, so did his importance. Swamp Thing moved from straight horror into the mystical side of DC, crossing paths with heroes like Batman and Superman, but fitting especially well alongside occult characters like John Constantine. He became one of those rare comic book figures who could work in a monster story, a superhero crossover, or a full-blown metaphysical fever dream without anyone batting an eye. He also became half of one of DC's strangest and most sincere romances, with Abby Arcane, proving that love can bloom even when one partner is technically an ambulatory wetland. Then DC made things even weirder, because of course it did. Swamp Thing's world expanded into a larger elemental mythology, with the Green representing life and growth, and opposing forces like the Rot representing death and decay. Suddenly, this character wasn't just guarding a swamp, he was part of a cosmic struggle over the balance of life on Earth. And then came the Lantern connection. During Brightest Day, the life entity tied to White Lantern power brought Alec Holland back to life because he was essential to restoring the balance of nature. This created one of the strangest chapters in Swamp Thing history. Alec Holland was alive again, while Swamp Thing as a force still had to exist. For most superheroes, the big question is, how do I save the world? For Alec Holland, it's also, am I me? Is that me? Or is that moss with my memories? In the New 52, Alec returned fully to the role of Swamp Thing, and the series leaned hard into the war between the Green and the Rot. Since then, Swamp Thing has stayed one of DC's most unique characters, part horror icon, part tragic hero, part ecological demigod. And that's why he endures. He started as a monster from the marsh and evolved into one of the deepest characters in comics, a creature of loss, identity, nature, and the terrifying possibility that the Earth itself might be alive. And a little annoyed.